Boy, that sandwich just keeps getting better. How you doing today, folks? I wanted to take a little bit of time today and discuss with you why it's not a good idea to use a chainsaw for removing stumps. And what I want to do is just take you through some pictures of the job I was doing, removing a stump, and then I'm going to show you some video clips along the way as well that'll kind of illustrate my points. The stump you're looking at here is about 5 feet away from the road, and it was taken down probably about 9 months ago, and it's bigger than it looks. I just want to go ahead and say that now. Initially, when I started this project, I thought I'd be done with it like in a day, and what you're going to be looking at through this video dragged on over the course of about 3.5 days. There's two main reasons I don't recommend, actually three main reasons I don't recommend using a chainsaw to remove a stump. And the first reason, just real quick, is it's not safe, because what'll often happen is when you're cutting a stump, you end up dulling your chainsaw. The second you hit that dirt with the saw, it's going to be dull. And what a lot of people will do is they'll try to just keep cutting even with the dull chainsaw, and you'll end up overheating the chain, which then stretches out, and there's a greater chance of you throwing a chain. Or, and this is the more likely scenario, people just keep pushing and pushing down on this dull chain that's overheated, and they're pushing so hard trying to cut that eventually the saw slips, and it'll basically like slip into your leg, your foot, who knows where, and do some pretty serious damage. The second reason I don't recommend using a chainsaw to remove a stump is because you basically spend more time sharpening the chain than you do actually cutting the stump. Because the second you hit the dirt, the chain is dull, and the best thing you can do and the safest thing you can do is sharpen that chain right away. And the third reason I don't recommend using a chainsaw to remove stumps is it just takes freaking forever. When I started this, I instantly knew I was in for quite a challenge, but I figured, maybe a couple days of this and I'll be done. And I remember after my second day, not a full day, constantly working on this, but on and off most of the day, after 2 days, I still was like, wow, I still have a ways to go. It just takes forever to remove a stump with a chainsaw. I want to show you folks the method I was using to cut this stump, and basically what you're seeing is what I was doing. I would, clear out the dirt around the stump and then take the saw and just try to cut off a little piece at a time. But unfortunately, with the chainsaw, the second you hit the dirt, basically the chain's dull and you have to stop and sharpen it. So right here, when I'm starting this cut, actually the saw is already dull. At this point, the saw is dull. If I was cutting firewood, I would have stopped already, but for whatever reason I thought I'd make it through this one cut. And you can see how much effort I'm putting into it. Watch the dirt come out right there. You can see how much effort I'm putting into it. That's literally how much cutting I did between sharpenings. That 30 to 45 seconds, and then I would have to go ahead and sharpen the saw again. And if I tried to keep cutting in the dirt like that, the longer you cut with a dull saw, the more effort it takes to sharpen it again. Any of my regular viewers watching know that the Wetterlings maul is my favorite maul for splitting wood, and the reason I like it so much is it's got the head that is designed as a striking object, but it's also got the splitting edge on it as well. And I don't think it's super heavy. I think it's like 6 or 7 pounds. But it's my favorite all-around wood splitting tool because it can both split wood and be used as a sledgehammer. Yeah, somebody forgot to do their stretching exercises before beginning work today. It wasn't too easy to get down there. This next clip is very satisfying. After all the digging and sharpening to finally get to the point where you can just start to kind of bump off chunks of the stump, it feels good. I wanted to share this picture with you folks and just show you an idea I had when I was sharpening my saw. I wear magnifying safety glasses when I sharpen the saw with, I think it's like 125% magnification. I did purchase this magnifying lens, which is a 10 diopter. No, I think it's a 5 diopter lens, but it magnifies probably around the same amount as my safety glasses. But it's just so nice to be able to see the chain up close and personal when you're sharpening it. And even if your eyes are still good, I really do recommend getting anything you can to basically magnify the file as you're sharpening. I want to show you a few pictures of the cutters, and the only word I can really think of to describe the way these cutters look is they've just been trashed. If you look at this cutter, you can see that by cutting into the dirt and hitting a few rocks, and eventually there was a surprise under the stump, I basically just ended up grinding away the front of the cutter, and so it's actually kind of like narrowed down from the top. And every time I sharpened, I would have to actually get that file under there and make sure I had a nice crisp edge at the front and the side of that cutter. And in this last picture, I mean, I wasn't really cutting the stump. I was basically just bludgeoning it with the chain, which is why I mentioned earlier, as soon as that chainsaw gets dull, you need to stop cutting and sharpen it. Because let me assure you, it's a lot more work to sharpen that mess than it would if the tip of the cutter was just a little bit dull. I want to do a little bit of an experiment here and just show you folks how quickly the chainsaw dulls when you hit the dirt. And just notice how nicely I just cut through that stump. And then here, just for sample's sake, I hit the dirt very lightly, and you can immediately see the chips are smaller, the saw's not really digging in as much. Gonna go ahead and hit it some more here, and this time you'll notice that the sawdust is even finer. What I was trying to do here is show you how much the chain loosens when you run it and it gets really hot. You see how that chain's already a little bit loose? So now we're gonna go ahead and just run it in the wood, but the chain's so dull it's not really cutting, it's just spinning. And when you do that, that's going to heat your chain up, and then that's going to cause it to stretch a little bit, and it's going to become very loose on the bar, which is going to make it much more likely to be thrown. There's going to be dirt in the groove in the bar, so your bar and chain oil is not going to spread as easily, hence your chain may overheat. It's really not as loose as I was hoping to show you. If I was just blindly cutting a root and had the saw in the dirt, it would have been significantly looser and much more likely to be thrown. Right here is the start of the last half day of doing this, and I have to admit, I was pretty burned out by this point. I was really, I couldn't believe I was still working on this. And I guess that's the fourth thing to be concerned about is, you don't want to start rushing with a power tool that's dull and, once again end up hurting yourself. So in retrospect, a stump grinder is pretty much always the way to go. The only reason I'm using the chainsaw for this one was because I was literally 5 feet away from a road with like 15 to 20,000 cars going by at 40 to 50 miles per hour. One positive aspect of using the chainsaw to cut the stump was it was really easy to clean up the debris and then just fill the hole with some soil, spread some grass seed and some straw, and let the grass start growing. At the end of the process, I had burned through 2 chainsaw chains and probably sharpened the saw something between 20 and 25 times. I gave the trusty 036 a nice cleaning when everything was done. Just a quick reminder here, folks, to go ahead and clean the bar of your chainsaw every time you take your chain off, or if you end up hitting the dirt a lot. this is how much junk accumulated in the bar. I think this is only one chain's worth of junk, but you know, clean both the top and the bottom. You don't need to put it in a vise. I just did that to make it easier to film, but just hold the bar in one hand and then run that putty knife. Once I clean the bar groove out with the putty knife, I do like to go back with some safety glasses on and just hit it with a little bit of compressed air as well. Well, thanks for watching the video, folks. You know, I was trying to figure out why I just spent a significant portion of my life making a video about something I don't recommend. And I think it pretty much comes down to just within the first hour or two of starting this project, I immediately, like, you know, the reasons I talked about to not use a chainsaw cutting a stump came to mind. It's really easy to dull the saw right away, and then once that saw is dull, you end up pushing down too hard, and it's much easier for the saw to slip and to cut something you don't want to be cut. But please don't think that this video was some attempt to show the glory of cutting a stump with a chainsaw. I really don't recommend it, and I would recommend just calling somebody with a stump grinder to come out, bang it out. You can have them leave the chips right where they are, and then you just go ahead and clean up the chips, fill the hole with some soil, throw some seed down, and you're all set. If I can ask a favor, if you could please go ahead and hit the like button on this video. Please subscribe if you enjoy videos about chainsaws such as this one. I also do some videos about equipment maintenance, and my day job is a landscape contractor, so I've got videos about landscape contracting as well. Thanks a lot for watching, folks, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Take care.